Hi, all the attendees. My name is Suruchi, and with me I have Anagha and Sanchit.
Hi.
So, I'd like to welcome all the attendees to Dheya Masterpieces launch event, and special thanks to all the three kids that are present here today. You must be bored during the lockdown. You must be really tired. Must be also attending different classes, but you took out time for this event. Thank you so much, Anaga, Sanchit, and Anirudh in some time. So, what is Dheya Masterpieces all about? I would like to start with that. So, Masterpieces, 2 months back, we decided upon the name Masterpieces. The Masterpieces means something that we have created through Dheya. So, all these kids that you're going to hear talk here today, they are Dheya kids. We call them Dheya kids. They are our masterpieces. They had come to us, we guided them, and now they have successful careers waiting for them. In today's launch, we have the authors of Dheya. So the three kids that you will be meeting today, they have or in the process of writing a book. Now Anagha here, she is currently in 11th standard. She's preparing for her JEE exams and everything. But in the meanwhile, she's also writing a book. Her book's name is The Shining Stars. And over to you, Anagha. You can explain us what the book is about.
Hi everybody. My name is Anakha, and my book, as Suruchi explained, is called The Shining Stars. It is basically a science fiction book, and it is about a planet with living beings on it, but humans are kept under the illusion that it is a mere star. The story basically revolves around the teenage girl's journey to finding about it, and how on the journey she makes new friends, loses some old, and becomes a very different person from what she started to be. It is basically a magical roller coaster ride.
Great. Also, Anagha, will you be able to read a few lines or a paragraph from your book?
Okay, sure. This is a piece from chapter number 8 of my book. The chapter is called The Independent Prisoners. We were taken to a room inside the warehouse. A man sat behind a desk, reeking of pure evil. He was probably the jailer. So, newcomers, huh? His deep voice bounced off the walls. Yes, sir, they were roaming on the streets today, an inspector replied. Oh, yes, I understand, young people. Brave but foolish. Give them room 17. Names? He thrust a pair of keys towards the inspector and proceeded to look at us. We all recited our names. Rachin, stuttering and mumbling a little more than the others. You can have 15 minutes to prepare and feed yourselves. Then you start work, he said. But we haven't done anything, I said firmly. That's enough. You can go now, he said, not paying me any heed. I said we did not do anything. The moment I said that, he got up and slapped Kabir hard on his cheek. Kabir fell down on the ground. The man removed his corona and with one flick, all our hands were tied. Kabir was floating in the air with his eyes closed. I started to move towards Kabir, but the inspector caught me. We were dragged through a narrow corridor and into an empty room. We immediately ran towards Kabir, who was now lying on one of the two beds. He slowly opened his eyes. The room was so dimly lit, courtesy of only one window. I took a glass and sprinkled some water on Kabir's face. Are you all right? I asked, feeling sorry for the fact that he had to deal with the consequences of my actions. Yes, I'm fine, he groaned, his left cheek probably still stinging. After a couple of minutes of rest, we left the room. Many other people were coming back from work, so we decided to follow them. We eventually found ourselves in a cafeteria. Maybe it was a lunch break. We were not really hungry, so we just sat at a table. Two people came and joined us. They looked to be in their mid-20s, but very fragile. You, new? The boy asked. Yes, we are, Kabir replied. You came today. Very brave of you, the girl said, her voice cracking. Well, what is today? Why was everybody so sensitive about us getting caught today? If I'm not wrong, Today is Independence Day, she replied. What kind of police arrests someone for walking on the streets on Independence Day? Questioned Abhi. What are police? The boy asked. Wait, are you humans? The girl whispered with an appealed look on her face. No, of course not. I replied quick as I could. Oh, come on, you don't need to hide. We are not against your people. It's so exciting to actually meet you. Well, now that you know, can you please clarify everything? I asked her. We are actually banned from coming out of our houses and celebrating today. On this day, there had been a war between Terra and this other kingdom. Of course, we won, and a huge part of Terra was freed. However, they had to pay the cost of at least 1,000 soldiers. So, this is a mournful day for them. Going out today is like challenging them. But no worries, you only have to stay here for a year and then you will be free to leave. A year? Said Amika, looking delirious. How long have you been here for? I asked them. Since the last 5 years. Only 60 more to go, the girl replied. What did you do that entails a 65-year sentence? Rachan asked. Well, we killed one of their guards. The boy smirked, and at that moment a bell rang. We followed everyone to the huge ground. An officer sent us to break some rocks. I noticed a fragile old man looking extremely weak, as if he hadn't rested in years. The boy and the girl we had met in the cafeteria soon joined us. We forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Zivak, and she's Ziva, the boy said, grabbing an axe and cracking open a rock in the first blow. Maybe he was not that fragile. We each introduced ourselves as well. Ziva noticed that I had been continuously glancing at the old man. That man has been here for 13 years. He has been made to work continuously for the past 6 months and starved with just some milk to drink, Ziva told me. Why so? I questioned. How could they be so cruel? According to what I have heard, about 47 years ago, he tried killing Tenebris, our present queen. Back then, she ruled the dark forest and mountains. 6 months ago, when her granddaughter Luna came for a usual half-yearly visit, he tried killing her too. Luna? I asked, surprised to hear her name. Yeah, pretty name but a bad person. Oh, here she is, she said, pointing towards the gate of the warehouse. Even from this distance, I could make out Luna's face. I felt so betrayed. Luna had at least 6 guards around her. She was burying looking at every person walking in the ground. When she came towards us, she stopped, her eyes widening. Luna, I said. Her reply shocked me. Call me princess, she replied. What are you saying? Do you not remember us? I don't know you and please do not address me as a friend, she said and moved on. I stood there staring at the half-cracked rocks. Tears welled in my eyes, but I did not let them fall. No one had ever made me feel such betrayal. Maybe this was what the prophecy meant. Maybe Luna was the one disguised as the reticenter. I pushed all my thoughts aside and slammed my hammer into the rock with all my strength. The crack grew deeper, and on one last blow, it cracked into pieces. That's it.
Wonderful, Anaga. I'm already getting questions about your book and all the kids as well. That is a really nice expert. Anaga, I would like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what made you start writing, or why would you choose this? Why did you choose this specific genre of writing?
Well, I started writing when I was 13, and for me, writing has always been about being able to pen down your imagination.
Right.
And since I write fiction, it is also about being able to experience something that we dream about.
Right.
And who wouldn't want to be able to create their own universe?
That is true. That is true. So, do you regard writing as your hobby or as your passion?
Well, at the moment, I would say it is my hobby. But if I make progress and if I think that it is something that I really want to do, it may become my passion.
That's great. That's great. I hope that you give us more fiction and sci-fi books in the future. Moving on to Anirudh. Anirudh Naveen is a 12th standard intermediate student who is supposed to be in first year, but because of lockdown, his exams have been cut short now. Anirudh has written 2 books until now. The first one is The Bird That Never Flew, and the second one, which was released this week, it's called Tail Ender. So Anirudh, over to you. Can you tell us about both of your books and read an excerpt from one of them?
So firstly, am I audible? Yeah. Okay. Hello. I'm sorry for the interruptions that happened. There were some connection problems, and thank you Suruchi and their career mentors for conducting this session. I'm proud. It's an honor to be part of such an illustrious panel. So about the tail ender, actually, if I have to speak about this book, the idea, the crux of this book was to try and make the process of academics more seamless. So I started a YouTube channel in the year 2018, and it kind of picked up traction by an year or so. And I used to put in a lot of educational content. And in the process, I received a lot of mails and a lot of messages saying that, and there were so many questions regarding examinations, and it seemed to me that exams were more of a, bore. They didn't understand why exactly they're going to give examinations. That is when I sat down and I wondered, why should academics be given any importance? And the biggest question was, what is the purpose of study? And how can academics be made more interesting so that whatever content I create for my, for my subscribers, it will be invigorating. They will really feel like reading it or like consuming it. So that is when I thought, if there's one theme that resonates with everyone in the country and that is in the pulse of this nation, that is cricket. Right? Cricket is something like terminologies like, straight drive, bouncer, all of them, these are used on a day-to-day basis. So, and it also happens to be some sport that I'm really passionate about. That is when I began to, get into the nuances of the game. I began to understand, okay, what exactly is cricket all about? Not only isolated to what we witness on the field, but also off it. The real, aura that surrounds the game in our country, and the societal aspect, the social aspect of the game. That is, so what I did was the whole book, the whole process was about creating linkages between academics and cricket. So I tried to draw parallels. This book is filled with these parallels between academics and cricket. So for instance, I've taken as a sample, taken two subjects dreaded by any child. Like I say, if you're a student, you'll at least read one of these subjects, and that is history and mathematics. Right? Especially the latter is a subject that many students, really do not like. So what I've done is I have tried to take one theme from each of these subjects and connected that with cricket. So for instance, I've connected trigonometry with cricket. I've connected civil disobedience movement and all the other movements that happened in our pre-independence era. I've connected that with cricket. And there's also a lot of cricketing history that has been interspersed within the narrative. So that is also a very important aspect of my novel. Alongside, and this is also an important part of this whole novel, is a philosophical underpinning, which means that I believe strongly that our scriptures, that is, the Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, the Upanishads, and all the profound literature that has existed in our lands, they hold stead for the times to come. And that is why I feel, I have tried to convey few subtle messages. They have been interspersed across the narrative, but I've tried to convey them. For instance, be it the Purusharthas or the very premise of connecting Swabhava with Swadharma. That has also become a part of this narrative. But most important, and I'd like to stress on this a lot because you might be feeling, okay, this is all about description, all about history and cricket. This is a work of fiction. So there is an element of mystery. There is an element of suspense. There are characters. There is a lot of events taking place. So it's as a whole, it is a work of fiction. But within that, there are a lot of themes that have been addressed, and it's been amazing. I published it the last week, and it's received a wonderful response. People from a variety of age groups are interpreting it in their own ways. So I'll just read one, short excerpt from my book. This is basically a parallel that I was speaking about between history and cricket. So Pramod, now the two primary characters in my book are Pramod and Prahalad, right? Pramod is the uncle, and Prahalad is the quintessential exam-bound student. So Pramod entered the room to find it festooned with posters of cricketers, scorecards, paintings, and many other artifacts solely dealing with cricket. So which poster among these is your favorite? Asked Pramod. I don't have any favorite poster. All are special to me, said Prahalad, his face lighting up to show his happiness at the fact that his uncle had initiated a discussion on cricket. Pramod sat down on the chair and looked down at the book that lay in front of him, titled Contemporary History. Oh, what a bore that is, uncle. Leave it. I will show you something more interesting, said Prahlad. Pramod looked up, a little flustered, and said, Oh no, it isn't. I love history. What? Asked a stupefied Prahlad. How can anyone love such a drab subject? Prahlad, never use such adjectives for any subject. It is very derogatory. But this would perhaps best suit a subject like history, said Prahlad. Absolutely no rhyme or reason studying it. He moved towards the cupboard to take out something from there. But why such an attitude towards history, Prahlad? Any specific reason? I, for one, find it rather fascinating and intriguing. Well, there are a few exceptional cases, uncle. But by and large, I can tell you that amongst our students, it's a consensual fact that history is drab, dull, and boring. Besides the odd cases, there isn't anyone who likes the subject in our school. I guess that has got to do with the kind of faculty. No. The ironical fact is that despite having a committed and dedicated teacher this year, we still do not have any interest in learning it. Pramod thought for a while and reflected on unfortunate attitudes developed by students towards a subject that held such a great degree of importance in the contemporary world. Prahlad, meanwhile, brought out a folder from within. Well, forget about history and all that rubbish. If you want to see class, you'll find it here. He handed over the folder to Pramod and the latter was left dazed as he saw how meticulously Prahlad had maintained it. It was covered with wallpaper adorned with glitter and a collage of pictures. The title was Bliss Through Class. As he turned over the pages, he saw images of various players playing their trademark shots. Kapil Dev's Nataraj shots, Lakshman's classy sweep shot, Sachin's trademark straight drive, and Virat Kohli's eye-pleasing cover drive, among others. Wow, Prahlad, this is outstanding. How have you maintained this so well? Nothing much to it, uncle. I have regularly collected these from newspapers and magazines and have tried to arrange them in chronology. Good job. Keep it up. Prahlad smirked in vanity. But I guess you missed out on one important cricketer. Someone who arguably had the most audacious stroke play at his time. Whom, uncle? Colonel C.K. Naidu. Have you heard about him? Ah, yes. I guess I did read about him somewhere, but forgot in due course of time. So, Pramod asked, why don't you cut a photo of his and paste it over here? I will definitely do so, said Prahlad. So, immediately, as you see over here, there's a nexus being drawn between history and cricket. So from history, there is a kind of movement towards cricket, and cricket is being used as a medium to try and foster that interest in history. So that is what I've tried to do with this book. There is an element of drama and mystery towards the end that have been captured by many people. So that is about this novel. It's been a wonderful experience writing it, and I hope it's the same reading it as well.
Great, Anirudh. The way you actually read the book, it's also very capturing and very enticing. So thank you for reading that excerpt from your book. I'll ask you a couple of questions. Anirudh, can you tell me what inspires you to write?
Two things over here. When I talk of inspiration about writing, firstly, I write because it has a cathartic effect on me. That is, when I write, it is a kind of an outlet. So whatever is there within, it comes out. And in the process, a lot of ideas also come out. So a lot of ideas that are kind of present within, I don't want to keep them constrained within. I want to bring them out. And so writing is an outlet of that sort. Secondly, it is a kind of, when I am someone who takes inspiration from our civilization, from Bharat itself. So when we look at India's history, at Bharat's history, you look at people like, scholars like Agastya Muni or say the great Shankaracharya or even Swami Vivekananda, Savarkar, all of them have written such profound literature. And this land, literally, our land is so holy, so pure, that such intellectuals have come one after the other, and we are so blessed to be inheritors of that legacy. So that legacy is what kind of inspires me constantly. When I read about such figures, at the risk of sounding very controversial, this book I have not explicitly mentioned. I began writing this book after I read Savarkar's book. He's written a treatise on Hindutva, and I read that book. Regardless of his opinions, I may differ with that, but regardless of what his opinions are, the clarity of thought and the vision that he has is something that is impeccable. And that is something that I learned from reading these scholars, especially people like Vivekananda, Aurobindo, and Savarkar. the clarity and the vision that they have is so profound and so wonderful that it's really, really, something that I wish to just inherit that legacy and just to try and give my small contributions, whatever I can do to upholding it. That's it. So I mean that's one more thing. And alongside you have the third reason is that a lot of ideas that are I mean, even this book, the very premise of it, the idea took about 6 to 7 months for actually it cementing in my mind. The writing process wasn't that long. It took about 2 to 3 months, but to get that idea soaked in and to try and make it a part of who I am, that is what took some time. So what motivates me, if you ask that question, a lot of reading. That is what keeps me motivated. So whenever I face any kind of issue, say with there was one phase last year in my 10th standard, 12th standard, where I was studying, naturally, a lot of academics, a lot of exams. So for 3 to 4 months, I did not write at all. It was disturbing. It was, something that I felt really bad, considering, telling everyone that, I write and all that, and then not writing at all for 3 to 4 months at a stretch. But if you give yourself that kind of a break, it actually allows you to introspect, and that's what happened with me as well. To just give a small disclosure, this is a second version of The Tail Ender. There was one version I wrote before as well, about 270 pages, which I junked entirely. So there was a period of emotional turmoil kind of thing in May or June of 2019, wherein I completely jumped that aside and I had to kind of reorient myself to the purpose of writing this book. What is the reason I'm writing? And that's something I really urge any writer out there, any aspiring writer. You should be passionate, number one, about what you write. And secondly, there should be a purpose attached to whatever you write. If you have an overarching purpose, if you have an overarching zeal to, write, things automatically flow. And the process was so seamless. Once you begin writing, things just go on so seamlessly. So that is one thing that I'd like to add from the motivational point of view, right? So I think I'll just add, Anaga had spoke about her book before me. I happened to read her book just a couple of days back. And let me tell you, it was an outstanding experience. So if you have even a little bit of an interest in mystery or, in the flow of the narrative in her book, that is, The Stars, I'm forgetting the name again, but it's written very beautifully. So I really, really urge you all to read Anaga's book as well. The style, the expression, it's amazing. So really, that's one thing I like to add there. Hi, Suruchi, you're back.
Hi, Anirudh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're audible.
Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for holding down the fort while I was gone.
No worries.
But again, technical issues. I think Saturday everyone is overloading the Wi-Fi network. So
yeah, I'll just add the name of the book is The Tail Ender. I think the chat there is The Tail Ender is available as an ebook on Amazon. So you can go and peruse it there. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure.
I have another question for you, Anirudh.
Sure.
Tell me, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
So that is it's a little tricky because I'm at a crossroads presently with my 12th not as yet completed. But if you ask me about my identity, prospective identity, say 5 years from now, I see myself as a prolific writer, as someone who is contributing to the civilizational narrative in India. So I want to do intense research in history and in Indology, basically Indological research. And alongside, I want to be recognized as an authority in the subjects like Indian history, especially in South India, considering South Indian history. So that is one realm that I want to be recognized in. So yeah, that is how, if I talk about specifics, what I want to achieve, the path will clear as I move forward. But as of now, at 5 years down the line, I would like to also perhaps contribute to the education system of our country and to introduce scriptural reading within schools. So unfortunately, our schools today, we are not taught about the Bhagavad Gita and the literature that is in our country. We are taught about all extraneous things, all Western things. Our own literature, there is no pride at all. So students are not aware when they pass out of school. So I would like to contribute towards this change and it's gradually happening already in schools, but towards this cultural change and cultural shift that will take place in schools in the time to come. So that is what I see myself. Yeah.
That is a really good aim to have in life, to contribute more to the education system. Moving on to our next author over here, Sanchez Deshpande. Sanchit is currently in 12th standard. He's pursuing his commerce and he's in the process of writing his book called The Legacy of Devil. So, Sanchit, can you please tell us about your book?
Yeah, thank you, Suruchi Didi. So, good evening, everybody. I'm Sanchez Deshpande, and I'm currently in class 12th, this commerce student, and I'm currently studying in DPS Pune. Writing has always been my passion, so in its pursuit, I am currently in the process of writing my first maiden book, which is The Legacy of the Devils. See, the thing is, the world is built upon a system of beliefs and assumptions that has been preached to us. But in reality, not everything is as distinct as black and white, good or bad. The truth also lies in between the shades of grey. Same principle can be applied to the superior beings which we call angels and devils. And the thing is, my book actually explores this topic where angels are not exactly the perfect beings as we thought they were, and devils weren't exactly the negative, hate-filled beings that we always assumed they were. There is actually a narrow window between them where they actually are. They are good. Devils are good, and angels are not. They are just reputation. Their reputation is everything to them.
Okay. So, Sanchit, can you read a small para from your book that you are in the process of?
Yeah. So this is a small excerpt from my book. This is from the chapter My Life Hits a Boomerang. It started about a couple of months ago. Me and my friends Jake and Luke were lying down in the fields of our school. The lustrous greens and wide expanse of the beautiful blue sky provided no respite to our misery. Hey Luke, why did we join this school? I grumbled. Luke rolled his eyes. Dude, you don't already know. This was earlier an all-girls school and recently got converted into a co-ed. So the girls to boys ratio is overwhelmingly in the favor of girls. Yeah, and that means we could have a girlfriend before we even realized it. Sure, Jake, that was our plan. But summer break is approaching and between the three of us, we are still single. I mean, I don't get it. A genius like Jake and an all-sports star like Luke, who on paper sounded like great candidates, but in the harsh face of reality, they couldn't be anywhere close. Well, coming to me, I had no expectations from myself. I was the outcast, socially and literally. This discussion was leading nowhere. So I tried to change the topic. Hey, don't look so glum. Let's go play basketball and calm down our nerves. And after half an hour of session, we sat in front of the school's club building and we were sweating from the session. Luke took out his comb and fixed his brown hair while Jake was wiping his sweat from his face and grey hair with a handkerchief. And then, through one of the building's window, a girl's head dripped through. She was gorgeous. She had light blue eyes, a stellar face, and her hair was redder than a beautiful sunset. She stood there, looked into the distance, and there was certain grace, pride, and confidence in her, akin to a born leader. It was love at first sight, for me anyway. I tried to speak, but being love-struck really makes you stutter. Who is she? Dude, you don't know her? That's Rios Bremery, head of the occult club, the most popular girl of our school. Rumor has it she's from Northern Europe. She turned around and fleetingly glimpsed at me and went inside. The gaze made my insides feel like jello. The day passed in a daze, and as I headed back home, I stopped at the bridge over the river, wondering if my life was ever gonna get exciting. Suddenly, I heard, "Excuse me," from behind. I turned around to see a girl approaching me. She wore a red jacket and underneath was a white shirt with a red embezzled tie. She clutched her bag nervously, as if to say something. She had straight, jet black hair and soft brown playful eyes that could drive boys like me crazy. Sorry, I didn't hope I'd startled you. No, it's fine. Anything I can help you with? My voice sounded an octane higher. Well, yes, sorta. Hi, before that, my name is Claire. It's nice to meet you. Likewise, my name is Connor. I know. Well, since you got the introductions out of the way, I had a question for you. Sure, go ahead. Are you seeing someone? Me? No. But why would a stranger ask me such a bizarre question? And what did she mean? She already knew my name. Oh, that's perfect. She clapped her hand cheerfully. How is it? I was prepared for a girl whom I did not know to insult me. But the answer I got was totally different and unexpected. Well, I had a favor to ask of you. Sure. I was hoping she was going to ask something ridiculous. She gripped her back, took a few deep breaths and mustered some courage and confessed, I want to go out with you. My brain couldn't handle it. It felt like it was falling down an endless flight of stairs. Wait, are you sure you want to go out with me? I mean, I'm not that special. I'm just a boring regular high school kid. She shook her head. No, that's not true. I see you pass by this bridge every day and look at the river in loneliness. And over time, I found myself being drawn to you. I could not answer. I was unable to place my feelings. I knew an opportunity like this wouldn't come again, so I took it. Yes, it would be my pleasure. I mean, who could say no to a girl this cute? She smiled and looked at her watch. Well, it's getting late, so I better leave. But before that, I'd like to ask you something. Are you free this Saturday? Yeah, I don't have any plans. Well, in that case, do you want to meet somewhere? Yes, I don't mind. She smiled and said, "It's a date then." Finally, the day of our date came. I rushed and screamed around the entire house like a banshee trying to find perfect clothes. And once the whole charade was over, I reached the day spot barely with any time. As I paced up and down nervously, a young lady approached me. She handed me a flyer, and before I could protest on how I wasn't interested, she spoke. Please take the flyer and support our community. Then she turned around and proceeded to walk away. The flyer had a strange symbol on it. Anyway, I ignored it and shoved it into my pocket. Just then, she came. Sorry for being late. No, don't worry about it. Even I just arrived, and so we began our date. The entire date was fun, and finally, we went to the nearby park to finish it. We were alone in the park, but there was still some awkwardness. I mean, how couldn't there be? We still barely knew each other. When we reached the fountain, Claire ran up and faced me. Well, I had fun, but I had a small favor to ask of you to commemorate our first date. My heart was pounding furiously. Yeah, sure. Will you die for me? My ears. What did she just say? No, I must have misheard her. Can you repeat that? I feel my ears misinterpreted you. She came close to me. Connor, I want you to die for me. Just as these words left her mouth, she transformed into a woman with a black crop top and skin-tight leather jeans and black heel boots. But the worst was the black wings that jutted out of her black back. She summoned a 5-foot glowing long spear and impaled me with it. The shock hit me before the pain did, and I fell flat on the ground. Why? She lolled her head back in laughter. Thank you, Connor. Thank you for being so cooperative and being naive. As to why I did this? Well, just ask them. They decided to possess you as their vessel. I gotta leave. Bye, Connor. Have fun. She flew away, leaving me dead on the ground. I could not move. Suddenly, the flyer from my pocket flew and landed on the ground. The symbol on it glowed and enlarged, and from the symbol a person appeared. But my time was already up. The last thing I saw was the crimson hair, and my mind said its last thoughts. Yes. When my eyes opened again, I saw a heavenly abode around me. I was in a room with a bed tucked at one of the corners, a table desk in another, a shelf filled with random various things like books and games. Posters of various things were plastered across every wall. Wait a minute, this was my room! So does that mean my date with Claire was a dream? No, it couldn't have been. It was too realistic to be one. I was still wearing the pair of jeans I had worn on my date, but the impalement on my body had completely disappeared to a point that there was no mark on my body. I looked around my room and immediately noticed something wrong. There was somebody sitting in my chair. That person was Rios. Good morning, Connor. Rise and shine. Promptly I fell from the bed. Why are you here? Why are you in my room? What happened yesterday? Did I really die? If I'm dead, is this heaven? Well, if this is heaven, why does it look like my room? And if I'm still alive, then how am I? Because I clearly remember dying. Slow down, Connor. First and foremost, let's get introductions out of the way. My name is Rios Bremery, and I'm the devil who just revived you, so be grateful. My name is Connor Del Rey, and thank you for reviving me. I suddenly realized something and a chill went down my spine. Wait a second, did you say you are a devil? So if you revive me, that means yes. She smiled and said, I'm a devil, and the one who killed you yesterday was a fallen angel. And yes, by me reviving you, I have turned you into a devil and also my servant. Just then black wings appeared out of her back, but these were different from Claire's. Claire's had feathers like a raven's, but Rios's were bare, leather-like smooth wings. The biggest shock came to me when I turned around and found the black smooth wings were sticking out of my back too. My life had been weird from the start, but now it made no sense. It looks like I had become Rios's servant and my fate was in her hands.
That was wonderful, Sanchit. To be very honest, I was very impressed. I was engaged, and the way you read it was simply amazing. And obviously, the attendees, they are writing beautiful comments to all of three of you. Again, I would like to ask everyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section so that the kids will answer them at the end, or I will answer them at the end, so that, that's a different part, okay? So, Sanchit, I would like to ask you some questions. So, what inspired to write this book or this genre? Because it's a little dark, not a lot, it's a little dark, but what made you write this genre?
Before I start answering my questions, sorry Anirudh, I'm just opposite of your aim, so sorry. I'm not going according to you. And the reason why I started this genre was because it always intrigued me that we always, even in our scriptures, even if we take our own scriptures to start off with, even Hindu, Buddhist, Sikhs, Christianity, every scripture has said there's always somebody on top, which we consider as God, and there's somebody on the bottom, which we various. It's either demons, it's either Lucifer, it varies. So I always thought, why do we consider God as perfect, as infallible, whereas we consider demons as always being the, no gooders, always committing dark deeds, always being the ones to, sin.
Right.
What if the devils were actually doing good in their own way, but it was like sort of like raw how it works.
Right.
They do the deeds, but nobody comes to know about them.
Right.
It always done in the secret. But whereas angels, whatever good deeds they do, it's always highlighted, it's always shown.
Right.
But whatever dark deeds they commit, it is always hidden. And that's where I thought, if you actually think about it in a detailed way, it's a human perception also that comes into play. Like if you go to any very religious person and you say such stuff, he will openly and blatantly deny that no, this can never happen. Demons are demons, devils are devils, they are wrong, they are bad. Angels are angels, Bhagwan Bhagwan hai, wo sabse अच्छे हैं. But what if God himself was actually fallible? What if he wasn't the perfect being we always thought he was? So that inspired me, and that was the reason why I actually wanted to pen down these thoughts. I knew from the start when I started writing this that this was trash, but hopefully if I worked on it, it would become lesser trash.
It's not exactly trash, because I enjoyed listening to it. People enjoyed listening to it. So definitely you have you have put a lot of heart into it. Whenever you read it, it sounds beautiful. Sanchit, tell me one more thing. Now you're in 12th standard. Where do you find, actually I would like to ask this question to all three of you. You guys are still in your 11th and 12th, preparing for your studies, preparing for colleges. So where do you find time to pursue your passion? Sanchit, you can go first.
See, in my case, I would say that there is like, I don't get a lot of time because I have classes, I have to prepare for 12th, then there's boards also in my hand, I have to worry about that, and whether CBSE is cutting syllabus or adding, that dilemma is going on within our teachers and us.
Yeah.
But the thing is, whatever free time I get, the thing is, I don't need to think. I don't know if it's just me. I don't need to think about it much. These ideas are always just floating around in my head, doing backstrokes and freestyle in my head. So I just need to pen them down, and slowly but surely they come together and form a story. And once the story, like right now the story has been formed, I just keep thinking about it, and the further continuation of it just keeps forming inside my head. So I keep imagining this, oh, this will happen, okay, no, this, I can go with this route, and then it keeps forming, and till the end, like I find I have completed the story, and I just need to pen it down at that point of time.
Right. Okay, and what about you, Anirudh? You have just given your 12th standard exams. So when did you find time to complete this book?
Okay, so when I talk of writing, I don't consider it to be, for me at least, it's not something separate from my academics. So I wrote most of this book while preparing for my pre-board exams.
Right.
Why? Because what happened was that a large chunk of my book, the themes that I have touched upon, be it the historical themes, the political themes, there are a variety of expositions that will be filtered across the narrative. So all these expositions were largely drawn from my academics as well. So there is the psychology of a student involved. I have a subject psychology. There is history involved. There is politics involved. And there is a social aspect as well. So there's sociology involved. And naturally, because I'm writing in English language, there are the nuances of language also that I have to incorporate into that. So I don't believe that academics is something, at least for me, academics is not something completely distinct from my writing. Both of them go parallel.
Right.
So that is how academics actually facilitated and helped me in this writing process, at least for this book. Besides that, if I talk about the time that I get, look, it is about just, following a discipline when you write, and I try to follow that discipline regardless of how my studies are going. There should be some time that I devote to writing, but it does not happen that way every time. So yeah, I try to get discipline myself as much as possible when it comes to writing.
Right. So, Anirudh, you are still in 12th. Sanchit, you are still in 11th. When did you guys you are in 12th. Sorry, you have completed 12th. Sorry. So, when did you guys realize that you want to write, or what made you realize? Anirudh, you can go first.
So I started writing at the age of 9, and incidentally, that was also about cricket. So there were a few cricket matches happening, and I would love listening to Harsha Bogle's commentary. I could listen all day to Harsha Bogle, giving his commentary, and I still have the document with me where I wrote a commentary, literally like, "Welcome to the stadium, and here are the people, here are the players entering the crease. He's making a comeback." It was a commentary that I wrote at the age of 9, and for a complete series. So India toured England, and I wrote a complete commentary. That's how I started off. And then I passed it on to a few members in my family, and they were all like in awe that, okay, he's visualized things so well. But when I talk of writing seriously, that only happened in the year 2015 when I wrote my first story. First showed it to a few people, and I got their feedback, their comments and all. When I showed it to Anand Desai from Dheya Mentors, he said that, this is amazing. It brought tears into his eyes. And for the first time, when something that I wrote actually left such an impact, that's when I realized that, okay, perhaps there is something within me. My parents had been telling me all the time, but I'm someone who always kind of is in a shell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it looks like more technical issues.
Moved out.
Get that corrected right now.
Yes. So Sanchit, I think Anirudh has already given his answer. So now you can give your answer, and then after that, I think we will end the session, because as such we are having lots of connectivity issues. So go ahead.
Okay. In my case, I enjoyed literature from the beginning itself. The idea of having to escape our boring old mundane lives and escape into a world of fantasy, it actually intrigued me a lot. About how I started writing was, this happened to me like whenever I used to give an English exam, and the story writing portion, I always used to exceed the word limit. I always used to go overboard on the story writing. So that was my point. I realized that I can write. And the favorite thing about my reading a book is, I love it when I can actually go and go into my favorite character's persona and see a whole new world through their eyes. And that is where the author stands. He is actually the bridge between the two realms of existence, which is our reality and the fantasy world. So I actually felt like I could express myself through my fiction. I could actually bring people to my world to see the creations I have made, to see that, oh, this is also a world that exists. And that was when I actually started writing. So if I had to say when I seriously started writing, it would be probably recently, after, much motivation from my father, Sanchez Deshpande, and my mentor, Anand Desai. Both are from Dheya Career Mentors. And I actually started penning down my thoughts, and it formed into a story that I read it to you right now.
Great. Sanchit, I think now is the time to answer some of the questions that people have been asking.
I might get a lot.
Yes. So, great. I think we have Anagha with us as well now. Okay, before that, Sanchit, there is a question for you. When one talks about narrow demarcation between good and evil, don't you think this thin line is very necessary to hold our faith?
Well, that's what I want to specify in my book, that this narrow demarcation that we, differentiate angels and demons, good and bad, that is actually not reality. That is our perspective. We actually look at things that way. We are bringing our preaching, our way of seeing things have been in such a way that we classify this as good and this as evil, whereas you're not even ready to go deep within the situation of what actually happened.
Okay, fair enough. All right. When these three kids joined Dheya, I think we have answered that, right? When did you join Dheya?
I joined here last year, I'm pretty sure last year, April 23rd.
Okay. And Anirudh, when did you join Dheya?
February 2016.
All
So
right.
that was 4 years.
No, I'm so sorry. Anagha is currently unavailable to answer. But definitely, if you want to, talk more about her book, you can connect with me or with Dheya, and you can know more about what Anagha is writing about. Okay. So after all the technical difficulties that we have been through, I think we are at the end of this session. Both Sanchit and Anirudh, do you have anything to say to the budding writers or those who want to make a career in writing?
Anirudh, you go first.
No, no, go first. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, if I have to give, look, see, firstly, it's something that I reiterate every time, that don't get disheartened by people not, people rejecting your work. Like when you write anything and send it across, I sent my novel across to about 5 to 6 publishers and received rejections from them. Today is a world where self-publication is the norm. So don't worry about that. If you want to write as an author, you can always self-publish. Now, secondly, when I talk of writing, I always believe that you, number one, need to be passionate about what you write. I'd already, I think, touched upon that briefly earlier in that interlude. But you need to be passionate about what you write. And number two, my belief again, I might be completely wrong, but I feel that there should be some purpose attached to what you write. Why, the question why needs to be answered. And whom are you writing for also? How do you feel your writing is going to impact? But when you write, I believe write as seamlessly as possible, right? Just do not be that editor when you're writing. Edit later on, write seamlessly and write with that purpose in mind. And then, of course, after you write, you can bring about the minor changes that you want. But I believe that write in the flow, but have a purpose in your mind when you write, and that way, I think, yeah, it goes on well.
Thank you, Anirudh. Sanchit?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sanchit, do you want to answer that question?
So what I would like to say is that don't look at the statistics and like, oh, this genre is doing well, this genre is doing. Do whatever genre that comes from your heart and just write down. Actually, don't even look at the genre at that point of time. Whatever comes to your heart, whatever you feel like writing, just start writing it down in small steps. Slowly but surely, you'll find yourself that you can write easily, you can write fluently, you can sit there and write, just you can write stories on your own. The thing is that even if, let's say, somebody does not like it, there will be other people who will actually like it, and there will be other people who will help you improve, help you develop through it. So listen to those people. And what I would like to say to the budding authors is, don't take pressure. Just write on your own pace, and write with your own passion. Make writing your passion. Don't write it because I want to write it. Parents are telling me to write. This might get me into this college. Don't do that. Just write with your own passion. So even the college ones, even the people at college will be like, I want to buy this book. You're coming with us right now.
Yeah, great. Parenting tips there, Sanchit. Thank you. Well, there are a couple of more questions. Which writers or authors do each of you have as your inspiration? So, Sanchit, would you like to answer that?
Mine is Rick Riordan, and I enjoy his Percy Jackson series.
All right. And Anirudh?
I already mentioned that I take inspiration from Savarkar's writings. I also take inspiration from another modern writer. His name is Vikram Sampath. The way he writes historical biographies and all that. And also Sanjeev Sanyal. He's also an author. He writes on history and culture and civilization. So, yeah, I take inspiration from these three.
Great. And Kiana ma'am is asking, what makes you choose that particular genre? Do you want to excel in other genre too?
Who is it
Anirudh?
addressed? Okay. Look, I mean, see, my book, that basically the tail ender, does not fit into any one particular genre very well. So it's actually an amalgamation of a variety of genres. So what made me choose history and say cricket is, I mean, above all, because I'm passionate about those themes. So I mean, I just enjoy writing. It just comes out very naturally, and there is nothing that hinders me from moving on. So largely because I'm passionate. But the second question is, do you want to excel in other genres too? I am planning to move on to non-fiction, to transition to non-fiction, because presently my knowledge base is very low, and I felt I could convey few messages using a narrative aspect. So that I'm planning to transition from fiction to non-fiction soon. So yeah, that is the second.
Great. Okay. And Sanjit, I think you have already answered that question. Right. Great. So thank you all for attending this launch event today. And through all the technical difficulties, we have covered most of our program. Thank you, the attendees, for coming in and believing in our kids and cheering for our kids. Thank you, kids, for taking time out of your busy schedule from your studies and coming in and showcasing your talent to the audience. On this note, I would like to end this event. Thank you so much for attending. If you have any questions, I've put my email address in the chat box. Please write to me if you have any specific questions that you want to ask to the authors. You can direct them to me, or if you have any questions about Dheya, please direct them to me. I can connect you with the concerned person. Thank you so much, everyone. And on this note, I would like to end the webinar.